Well, hi, everybody. KJ here with you, and we are getting ready for big changes across the country here. We talked about this yesterday, and here we go again. We're going to focus in across the western part of the United States to start with here. And if you take a look here, big storm moving into the west coast of the U.S. here, moving through the Rockies as of Friday evening here. Now, with this storm here, this is going to be a game changer because what it's going to do is it's going to change and flip our weather pattern from the relatively mild with only some quick shots of cold air here or there to a much colder weather pattern over the weekend, and especially as we head into next week. Now, this is going to be a big winter storm north of us, and I'm talking about areas across Kansas, Missouri, the Midwest, those areas. Pretty significant ice and snowstorm with this, and maybe even some severe weather on the warm side of this across the Gulf Coast states. But across a good part of the southern plain states, this just brings with it a shot of some cold air starting on Sunday. So if we take a look, the winter storm kind of gets started tomorrow, kind of up here in the Nebraska and western parts of Kansas. And then tomorrow night and into Sunday, we see that transition of rain to freezing rain, sleet, and snow further south and further southeast. I think Kansas City, you could get hit pretty hard with this late Saturday night and into Sunday. Wichita, Kansas, you as well, and then we'll see that also transition over towards St. Louis, Missouri, across a good part of Missouri, Illinois, southern Illinois, Indiana, parts of Kentucky, and over into maybe Ohio later on Sunday and even into early Monday here. So the northern side of this is going to be snow. The southern side of it is going to be freezing rain. And the transition zone, there will also likely be some sleet. Sometimes sleet can bring the snowfall totals down. Oftentimes, the weather information we're looking at will suggest there's going to be a lot of snow, but you got to get a long duration of that heavy snow to get a lot of heavy snow amounts. And if sleet mixes in with that, it can also bring those down just a bit. Let's take a look at the high-resolution future tracker. Now, this is just going to be what we call a composite reflectivity. It's going to show colors that would indicate rain and thunderstorms here, at least initially here. I'm not going to show the color palette just yet. So here we are early on Saturday. There's the moisture starting to come into play here. And it looks like as we head towards late tomorrow afternoon, Saturday evening, Saturday night, we'll see precipitation start to break out. Now, some of this, especially on the southern and eastern end, may start off as rain. But back to the west here, this is going to either be a combination of freezing rain, sleet, or maybe even some snow. And as the storm itself begins to wind up and really begins to get its act together, you can see this classic comma shape to it here. This little area down towards Oklahoma City, this dry area, that's called a dry slot. This is an intense storm system. To the south, there's going to be heavy rain and thunderstorms down here in eastern Oklahoma, in parts of East Texas, and into Louisiana, Mississippi, these areas. And that heavy rain from those storms lifts northward, and then once it gets into the colder air, those thunderstorms are no longer producing rain. They're producing freezing rain, sleet, and snow. And where you see these brighter colors, that's going to indicate heavier precipitation by Sunday morning in places like Kansas City, Missouri, over here into the northern parts of Missouri, back towards western and central parts of Kansas. In fact, the colder air is going to be what we call deep enough. That means the cold air will be seen from the cloud layer all the way down to the Earth's surface. So this will probably be some heavy snow here on the backside of this, back across western and central and northwestern Kansas here, and that's going to be some pretty heavy snow. There's your storm continuing to wrap up. This will be on Sunday afternoon. A heavy ice storm probably taking place here, central, maybe even northern Missouri. The northern side of this heavy snow, extreme north Missouri, back through Kansas City, Salina, Kansas, Topeka, down to about Wichita, Kansas. And some of this wraparound moisture here also probably showing up as some snow showers or some light snow at least, maybe even some moderate snow across parts of northern Oklahoma, north of Oklahoma City. So there could be some accumulations with some snow up that way. You can look on the warmer side of this, though, and look at those thunderstorms with heavy rain down towards Little Rock, Arkansas. Now, this may wind up being a lot of heavy rain northern Arkansas and maybe extreme southern Missouri. But the further north you go, you're going to run into the problems as that cold air continues to thicken up. Now, let's put the colors on here. Now, this will represent where we see ice versus snow versus rain. The blues show the rain showers here. Here is Saturday afternoon. I'm stopping this around 3 o'clock. And you can see the pink shows the freezing rain, maybe some sleet here, Kansas City developing back towards Salina, Kansas, Wichita, Kansas. Now, Wichita, you may start off here as mostly rain. And likewise over towards Paducah, Missouri, or Joplin, Missouri, and Springfield, Missouri. And Kansas City may even start off as freezing rain, but I do expect a transition to take place And Kansas City, you may be close to that transition zone, and if you are on that transition zone, then you could wind up seeing sleet mix in too, which could bring down snowfall totals down a bit. So we'll keep an eye on that. But by a Sunday morning, heavy snow, Salina, Kansas, freezing rain, maybe some sleet back into Wichita, Kansas, heavy rain here, thunderstorms, southern parts of Missouri, eastern Oklahoma, and then you get north of there, Columbia, Missouri, over towards St. Louis, Missouri. Ice storm in progress. This is also taking place over into parts of Kentucky, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, maybe parts of Ohio. Then you get north of that again, central Illinois, central Indiana, central Ohio. Those areas seeing the heavy snowfall. When we get into the afternoon, that freezing rain, sleet area changes over to all snow in Wichita, Kansas. We continue to see a longer duration of heavy snow back towards Salina. Still seeing snow near Kansas City, but again, there's going to be some sleet somewhere near or just south of Kansas City there, though. But as of right now, it looks like Kansas City should be mostly in the snow zone by this point in time. Look at all that heavy snow there across northern Missouri, and it's going to continue to pile up there. Perhaps freezing rain, sleet into St. Louis. You jump north of there into central parts of Illinois, and it's mostly snow. Then you go to the south there, southern parts of Missouri, northern Arkansas. It's just plain old boring rain and thunderstorms here. Now, as far as ice amounts go, and again, these are raw computer model-derived forecast accumulations here. And sometimes they can be a little on the high side. So let me urge you to just kind of take this with a bit of a grain of salt here. This is showing by 10 a.m. Sunday morning up to almost a quarter-inch of ice developing there in Wichita, Kansas. You get east over there, eastern Kansas, up over a quarter-inch of ice. And then you get over into Missouri, and it's just showing some areas already getting up over half of an inch of ice. And if these projections do continue, and again, this is mostly north of northern parts of Arkansas. It's kind of in a narrow zone there from, let's say, central parts of Kentucky back through southern Illinois, southern Indiana, back into southeastern parts of Missouri, near or just south of St. Louis. If these numbers continue to show heavy amounts like this, I'm talking about half inch or more, even though there's not going to be a lot of wind, there could be some significant power outages over here into parts of these areas. And then look at the ice forecast accumulations there over here in northern and western Kentucky, 3/4 of an inch of ice. That's enough to easily bring down trees. Look at that 1 inch of ice there showing up not too far away from Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and then up near an inch of ice in parts of central parts of Kentucky there, south of the Louisville area and south of Cincinnati, Ohio. So that's the ice aspect of things. What about the snow aspect of things? And again, you have to kind of take these numbers with a grain of salt. This is raw model data showing what potentially could happen. This comes off the European computer model, which is usually pretty good. And it's showing, look at that snowfall amount there near Salina, Kansas, up over a foot. And showing already about 3 to 3.5 inches of snow down towards Wichita, Kansas. But again, some of this could be sleet mixed in too. And if that happens, the numbers come down a bit. You can see parts of Nebraska, you're getting some lighter snow amounts, maybe even parts of southern Iowa. You know, we haven't seen a lot of winter weather so far this season, so this is one of the first winter storms to impact the country here. Look at that Kansas City already by first thing on Sunday morning, up over 5 inches. But as that snow continues to develop throughout the day on Sunday, we see that colder air continue to come in from the north as the main storm center continues to push on through. You'll see that any areas of freezing rain or sleet back to the northwest transition to all snow here. And look at that up over near Junction City or near Salina, Kansas, near Topeka, Kansas, up over 15 inches of snow being forecasted here by this computer model, up to 8 down here towards Wichita, Kansas. Look at that Kansas City up over 10 inches of snow showing up, and some of these higher snow amounts continue to show up there between southern Iowa and northern parts of Missouri there, and you can see the snow amounts add up in parts of central Illinois here. But as the system gets to the east, there's some indications that it might begin to shrink up a little bit in terms of snow, and it may wind up seeing more ice than snow, but there still should be at least some snow in some of these areas over this way. So parts of southern Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, Lexington, Kentucky, some of these areas could still see some significant snow. But let me urge you, over here, there could also be some ice showing up with some of this as well. Travel issues, well, you better believe it. Anywhere in this red or even dark gray here, you're traveling north or anywhere across Kansas, extreme southern Nebraska, across a good part of central northern Missouri, all the way up to the Iowa border here, then back across Illinois, southern parts of Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, these areas, you better believe there are going to be some big-time travel issues occurring, especially if that snow in these areas that get that deep snow. you're not going to be able to drive in that because it's going to be cold. The snow is going to be all over the roads, and it's going to be really, really dangerous. So please take care. If you got to travel in these areas, and then those areas that are receiving freezing rain, could even be worse because you can drive. You can drive a little bit on snow and sleet. You can get some traction, especially if you know what you're doing. But if you're on a sheet of ice like freezing rain, you can't drive on that. And remember, with freezing rain, the bridges and the overpasses, the elevated surfaces, those are the ones that ice up first. And oftentimes you don't know that they've iced up. So it looks like it's just a normal pavement there. You drive across it, and then boom, you've then started spinning out of control. Best advice is just don't travel in any of these areas here on Sunday into early on Monday. What about power outages? Well, this is a computer model showing this, and I don't necessarily agree with it. Now, I'm going to start down here. This shows power outages possible late Saturday and into Sunday with some thunderstorms developing. It's going to be a line of thunderstorms. I'll have a video coming up in a few minutes on the severe weather aspects of this storm. But this would show a line of thunderstorms over in here that might contain some gusty winds strong enough to produce some power outages. That is on the warm side of things. Then you jump up here to the north, and here's your ice, and it shows low chances for power outages across Kentucky. But again, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think power outages are going to be possible, if not likely, and it could be pretty widespread from southern Missouri all the way here into Kentucky, especially in areas that see that freezing rain add up and pile up. Remember, that ice weighs those trees down and they begin to break. I'll continue to watch this developing winter storm as we head into the weekend. I'll have more updates as we get closer to this. Please like and follow me on all my social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, and now on YouTube. Thanks for joining me, folks.